Hey guys, GZ here, and welcome to my first F1 2015 game video. Well, obviously we know that the game hasn't been, well, it's been announced, well not properly anyway, we haven't seen any gameplay of it yet. So I thought this would be a good chance for me to pretty much say, pretty much on behalf of the whole community, the whole F1 community, what we want F1 2015 to be like by Codemasters. And we've known in the past that the games hasn't been great in terms of the physics, the online, what they've got in career, and F1 2010 for me was pretty much the perfect F1 game. You can get contracts with money. You can walk about, well not exactly walk about, but you can actually get access to the paddock inside. F1 2011 sort of had that feature as well, and where you stay in your motorhome. But 2010 was pretty much you go into your manager's office, the paddock, all them kind of stuff. And I feel like they should actually include this in 2015. For example, we've got 10 times the power of the last gen console. The PS, for example, apparently the most powerful gaming system in the world ever produced, is 10 times more powerful than the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3, for example, had 256 megabytes of RAM. The PS4 has 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. The GDDR5 RAM is the RAM specifically used pretty much for graphics cards, specifically for graphics. And obviously the CPU and all that kind of hardware has been improved as well. So I feel like Codemasters should really listen to the community, and they pretty much have no excuses this time. I mean, last gen, they pretty much had the excuse of, okay, the consoles don't have the hardware we need to support this feature and that feature, and we don't have the resources. But now they have the resources, they've got the consoles they have to make these things happen. Now, let's look at the changes from 2014 into 15. Now, this isn't necessarily to do with the consoles themselves. Like, this probably wouldn't really change much between the consoles, but the main thing that particularly we've seen in online mode is the difference between the wheel users and the pad users. Now, I was a wheel user. I used the wheel in the first, the first 2 months of 2014 being out, and then it died, so then I had to use a pad. So I'm pretty much I know the comparisons between the wheels and the pads. Now the wheels, they are very oversteered. The cars tend to slide a lot and rather uncontrollable if you have a wheel, because obviously we know that the turbos produce a lot more power. The power is higher. The power, instead of being at the top of the rev range, is pretty much spread throughout the whole rev range, which means that it's really difficult to control. Now I like that because that is realistic. That's what you would expect in the new F1 hybrid cars. However, on the pad, you literally get no wheel spin. Literally no wheel spin. You do get a bit of wheel spin with traction control off, but compared to the wheels, literally nothing. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, if you can think about last year, people were complaining that the pads were too hard, that the cars were oversteering a lot, and that was pretty much uncontrollable with the pads, and you kept on understeering and oversteering and all that kind of stuff, and the wheels were pretty much fine with it. But in 2014 it has changed, but now it's going the opposite direction. Last year the pads were easy, last year the pads were hard and the wheels were easy. This year the pads are easy and the wheel is hard. So they do really need to change that to make it a bit more equal and make it a bit more exciting, because now we are seeing that the wheel users are struggling. Well, some wheel users anyway. But I actually prefer the wheel, and I'm really hoping to buy the Thrustmaster TS300 RS. I think that's what we call it anyway, 300 something anyway, from Thrustmasters, and that's supposed to be one of the best wheels you can get at the moment. It's compatible with the PS4 and the PS3 and also the PC as well, and it's pretty much an awesome wheel, and I'm hoping to get that soon. And also they should actually try and make the cars equal in online. Now they are getting there. It's not exactly perfect, but as I said, in the consoles, they have got the opportunity with the consoles, with the hardware that they've got, to make this happen. Now, another main thing, well in fact let's talk about leagues to last, because that's pretty much the best to last. Let's talk about the career. Now, as I said at the start of the video, F1 2010, they should base the career on F1 2010. Be the driver. Allow drivers to select sponsors, for example. Well, that wasn't actually a part of 2010, but I feel like they should actually add this just to make it a bit more realistic. Like, obviously, they possibly couldn't make real name sponsors because of, well, they'll probably take too much time and they probably won't be allowed to do them. But if they make their own sponsors up, and it could be like Grid 2, pretty much exactly like Grid 2, the Grid series. Sponsor companies can ask drivers to sponsor. Well, drivers can ask. Well, if a driver performs well throughout a season, he can get more sponsors to sponsor him throughout the season. He gets more money, and obviously, if he's underperforming, then sponsors will just pull out and let fewer sponsors will want to sponsor him. And I feel like they should actually add a bit of Grid, of the Grid series, to F1, because for me, Grid is more popular than F1, and you wouldn't exactly you wouldn't really exactly expect that, because obviously F1 is a Formula 1 is the most famous motorsport in the world. You would expect that to be really popular than Grid, but it just isn't, because F1 isn't exactly. It's hard to say this. It's not. They haven't really improved F1 as much as Grid, and it's a shame. And also, Grid doesn't exactly. Well, Grid sort of doesn't look like the same as F1. The driving physics and all that kind of stuff. People actually prefer it because it possibly could be easier to drive. I've played Grid Autosport on the PC, and I can sort of see where they come from that, but for me it's not really much of a difference. Now, they should actually possibly add a feature where teams can suffer financial difficulties due to underperforming in the season. Now, obviously we've seen this in 2014, Marussia and Caterham pulling out of the sport because of financial difficulties. Basically, before Gosby, they were underperforming, and they weren't performing as well as what their sponsors were pretty much wanted them to, and then they pulled out, and as a result of that, their owners didn't have enough money to pretty much bail them out, and they went bankrupt and blah blah blah. They should allow this feature in 2015 as well. If the driver is not performing well, the team can sack him, and we can also see an effect this has. Like, if they do have financial difficulties, you'll see that the teams will not be able to have produce any updates to the cars throughout the season. We could see some in the game. We could see some teams pull out of the sport, like pull out of some races due to financial difficulties. And people might think that this is annoying, but for me, I just want it to be realistic, as realistic as possible, because we have now, as I said, loads of times now, Codemasters has got the opportunity to make this game brilliant because of the hardware they now have. Now, safety car effects. This is something which does annoy me a little bit, that the safety car comes out, but after somebody has had a major crash, but you don't see anybody on the track cleaning up the debris. Now, we should see this, because, as I said before, they've got the opportunity to do this now because of the better hardware that they have now on the next gen consoles, and also the PC. And possibly they could have actually done this on the PC, but not all the PCs are the same. The consoles are the same now, so the consoles are pretty much catching up with the PC. They're at least 3 years behind the PC, according to some experts. But they do have the opportunity to make this happen. You should see stewards walking along the crash site. Crash site, it's just like some helicopter crash or something. But they should walk around the crash site and tidy up. It doesn't really have to look unbelievably realistic, but just something nice and simple to show that something is actually happening, instead of when the car crashes, it's there for about 10 seconds and then it disappears and then the safety car comes out. Obviously we know that the crash did happen, but it just looks it looks more realistic. Really, that's what I'm saying. Now the big one, something which is pretty much important to a lot of drivers in the community and also to me and also to the league which I race with, Front Row Racing. Link is always in the description below this video. A league mode. They should have the opportunity now to make a league mode. Now you can save, they should, so I've got notes here which I said make a league mode where you can save standings of the race. So instead of typing all up in Facebook, the game's already done it for you, it's already there. All you need to do is try and take a photo of it or just write it down. Instead of doing the math yourself, makes it a lot more easier to do. Now the problem of this is if a game, as you know, Codemasters is pretty dodgy with their penalty system, and in fact that's another thing they should fix, the penalty system. Fix it, because innocent drivers, it's actually better. This 2014 has actually been better, as in some cases anyway, but it's not perfect and Codemasters should fix the penalty system. However, let's go back to the league mode which I am proposing Codemasters should do. Now, they should allow features similar to Gran Turismo 6 in which spectators can watch each individual driver. They can change camera angles, they can have the ability to save one driver's clip, or maybe if it was a crash or something, they can have the opportunity to change the different camera angles. They can save that part of the clip. Obviously we can do that now thanks to the save feature on both the PS4 and the Xbox One. They can pause the video, probably be taking some pictures, or they can save that clip and just take out the bit where they crash. That doesn't really make any sense at all. But they should allow a feature where stewards, let's say stewards actually, can record each individual driver, well, pretty much the whole race, and they've got the ability to see each individual driver, and see their split time, see if they were corner cutting, or maybe if a crash did happen, they can have the ability to change camera angles to see if it was his fault or that fault. In my case, it's always my fault. I'm getting better. But it's pretty much Gran Turismo style replays, because it makes it a lot more easier to find out to work out what happened in the crash. Because obviously, because now we have to rely on people recording the race from a capture card or a camera, and if somebody isn't recording the race and if crash did happen, then you have a huge argument with drivers saying, "Oh, it was you? No, it was you. No, it was you. No, it was you." So which pretty much will end in no resolution at all. And the driver who did cause the crash gets away with it, and the driver who doesn't gets really annoyed and pretty much starts to cry. They should allow a Gran Turismo style replay feature to make it easier to resolve incidents. Now, if a driver has been wrongfully penalised, the host or the admin, in the league mode, they should actually add admin, like the head of the league, to change different settings of the league, and then you can have the top admin who can pretty much do everything, and the mini admin who can do little things here and there. And the host can change the results in the game if a driver has been wrongfully penalised. Now we have seen this, that drivers have been wrongfully penalised in league races by the game, even though it wasn't their fault. Now, if something did happen, the steward can have the ability to go and take the penalty off him. Now, this is why I'm saying that they should allow admin only, because then drivers can say, "Oh, I didn't get a penalty," and then say, "Oh no, he got a penalty onto him, done." They can't do that. Only admin can change the penalty system, the penalties which have been saved in a race. Then they can take the penalties off a driver's record, and then the game can automatically update the race standings and the standings of the championship to correspond to that change, just to make it a bit more easier, so that instead of getting the calculator out and then redoing the whole championship again, the whole championship table again, to make sure that's up to date. So as far as I know, that is all I want. I know this has been pretty much, well, 16 minutes is gone now, but there's been a lot to talk about, and I do apologise if I am not speaking that clearly. I'm Scottish, so yeah, that's pretty much the reason why. But yeah, YouTube is helping me talk a bit better than before. But I am getting there, and hopefully it'll improve in other videos. So if you guys have got any other suggestions to add into this, I might make another video talking about it when Codemasters release some details about the game. But I will be sending this video to their social media channels, their social media pages on Twitter and Facebook, and possibly email them as well, because I've actually been talking about, in fact, just want to say a big shout out to all the Front Row Racing lads who's been helping me pretty much talk about what to add in this video, this and that really. They've actually been specifically talking about the Gran Turismo feature where I was talking about the replays, because that will make it a lot easier to resolve any crashes or anything like that. So yeah, if you guys have got any other suggestions which haven't mentioned, just leave a comment in the description of this video below. And if you guys liked the video, pretty much like it, and if you haven't, if you've disliked it, just pretty much say in the comments below, saying why you didn't like it, and I'll try and pretty much respond to that by making my future videos better. And obviously you guys can subscribe to my channel as well. So thanks for watching, guys. This has been GT5Q101, and we shall see you later.